Drivers and spectators, ladies and gentlemen, I welcome you all to a new Monday Championship here at Racing Club International, the Sylvia TCX series. It is a special series, this one, given it has been named in light of a dear friend of RCI's who has been struggling both physically and mentally while spending most of their life going in and out of hospital. We know you're not alone and there are more out there, and these Mondays we will race for you. For our very first round here, we strike down at the Circuit of Barcelona, Circuit of Catalunya actually, here at Spain. I will be your lead commentator for today, and next to me is Stewie. Stewie, how are you doing?
Oh, then, thanks. I'm doing very good, and I'm super excited for this because the M2s are my favorite type of Monday champ. Used to race in a couple of those myself, and yeah, they always bring good racing, close racing, and it's usually exciting until the end of the race.
Exciting it will be in qualifying as well. We have 16 entries here today, 24, 25 entries in total, so we'll probably see more cars in the upcoming Mondays, but for now 16 cars on the grid as we see Les Stevenson in the 46 BMW M2 heading for his first real qualifying lap again on the Circuit of Spain here, as Les Stevenson puts the second time on the board actually, just behind Andy Portman, who's currently sitting on pole position with a 1:8:58.3. Qualifying is 12 minutes long, so there's plenty of times for these drivers to get their lap in, but currently it is Les Stevenson in third place.
Yeah, and Andy Boardman already on P1. I think, didn't he win the last Monday champ? And if he didn't win, he was definitely on the podium. So I think we can expect great things from him today. And I'm also interested in seeing who can reach him up there in the times. Seeing Tom Shipson crossing the line, only 0.7 of a second behind. And quite a few cars yet to set their first lap.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I want to say we have Nico Kumpu in there, who can sometimes, especially in especially these kind of cars, I've seen him drive pretty competitively. Nico Kumpu, see what he can do. We have, of course, Aaron Jackson. We have Keith Whiffle. Martin Pimlott still need to set a time on the board, but currently the only man closest to Boltman is Tom Shipson. But of course, qualifying hasn't finished yet, so I think people will be getting closer to Andy Portman throughout the session.
Yeah, and also during the qualifying session, as we can see in the top right, the track state is currently fast, which means that the grip will only increase. So these are not their final times yet. So Whiffle there lose the car a bit. And I was about to mention Barcelona, one of the tracks where it's super easy to get some track cuts in certain corners, especially here in the last one. So if you're not careful and you're a bit overconfident in your fast lap, you might just throw it away in the last corner there. And we see Wascam come across the line, improved by, I think, almost a second, up to P5, very close behind Ted Edwards.
1 second off, it's really close in the midfield. We have Mike Redford with 1.3 seconds to spare to Andy Portman, but then go 4 places higher up. Ted Edwards also in that 3/10 window to Mike Redford. Currently the closest man to Andy Portman, Nico Kumpu. I'm not going to say it, but I've maybe called it. Peter Vaga, also very fast, can be very fast on a good day. This is Dominic Wojciech, who I myself haven't seen so far. See what he can do in this RCI Championship, in this Monday series. Currently 5.9 seconds off the pace, but that could all change in a matter of 7 minutes and 50 seconds. The track temperature here at the Barcelona circuit is quite low. It is 17 degrees. That is really low, almost too low. Normally you do want to have a cold track beneath the tires, but when does cold start to get too cold? maybe 17 degrees is already too cold, but currently the qualifying is still going on. I wonder if Andy Boardman is going to improve. We'll find out shortly.
And I think my prediction is going to be that we're going to have maybe the top 3 fighting together, and then there's going to be quite a big gap after a few laps, but then we will have a big group in the midfield, just based on what we know of these drivers and what we see at the moment. Him not coming across the line also improved by, I think, about half a second. Gave him 1 spot. And we still have a few drivers who haven't set a lap yet. You also mentioned the track temps. With these M2s, when they go out of the pit lane, the tires are cold. They don't have any tire warmers, so probably gonna take like 2 or 3 laps until the tires are even close to temperature for these quali laps. And we're seeing that with Boardman just doing his 2 laps and now going into the pits and using the remaining 6.5 minutes just to maybe get 1 or 2 more laps in. And yeah, it's going to be interesting how these tires hold up in general, because Barcelona, very taxing on the left side.
Very technical, good point. And the M2, the car itself is really technical. The brakes are really important. I mean, the brakes are important in every car, but especially the M2. This is not a GT3 car or a GT4 car. Everything in an M2 compared to like a GT3 happens more slowly, which means you drive more time on the limit throughout a corner, for example, than in a GT3. So it's a really sensitive car. It is a heavy car, but if you nail it, speak out of experience, it can be really incredible and really fun to drive. And I think a lot of drivers will learn the M2 and maybe appreciate the M2 throughout the season. We can only hope so, but I think especially today drivers will need to adjust to non-GT machinery, but I think in the later stages of the season they might come to appreciate the car if they are not doing so already. This is Neil Pimlott currently trying to get a better lap time on the board, 3 seconds to the leader. It is currently P11. It is currently, will he improve? Yes, he will. And up to P10 for Neil Pimlott.
That was quite a big improvement. It was, I think, almost a second again, but yeah, not quite enough to go further into the top 10. But I'm sure that might have just been one of the out laps, so yeah, we might see some more improvement. And we also saw just now, and a few times before here, it's very slidey, these cars, especially in the first corner. We saw some of them lose a bit of the rear grip. Keep seeing yellow flags once in the once every other lap. So oh, and another big slide here from Withall in the chicane in the last corner there. Let's see what they can do coming across the line. That should be a good improvement as well, and it was a good improvement, but yeah, not enough to gain a spot.
The times are getting closer and closer, things you absolutely love to see. Kumpu is still on track and Boardman is still on track. I'm curious what they will do. Tom Shipston isn't on track, so maybe his qualifying, given 1 lap, already takes roughly 2 minutes here, has ended. The Belgium driver, however, Thibaut Roskam in the 96 BMW M2 for Rebound Racing, could be on an improvement here. 1.1 seconds off the lead, less than a tenth off Ted Edwards, and maybe if he gets a big improvement, an improvement big enough, he can even challenge the top 3. I'm really curious for Nico Kumpu if he can maybe just challenge Andy Boardman a little bit more, but we'll see, because 3 minutes and 14 seconds remaining. It's not a lot. This is Nico Kumpu. I think his lap time was invalidated. The last time I checked on the minimap on your right hand side, but we'll see. Nico Kumpu anyway coming through the last few corners now. That's the BMW M2 being really sensitive to those inside curbs. See no one taking those inside curbs. There must be a reason for that, but the Finnish driver over the line, can he improve? He doesn't, stays P2, but he has some more laps in the tank, I reckon.
Yeah, the lap wasn't actually invalid, but it was an out lap.
Okay.
And the same for Andy Boardman, also on an outlap at the moment.
Good.
So I wouldn't have expected Kumpu to beat the time just then, but it was only 0.001 of a second, so like very close to his current lap time, which goes to the point that I mentioned earlier that the track is getting faster. So I would expect Kumpu in his next 2 laps increase his lap time and maybe decrease the gap to Boardman. And can't quite tell who we saw off the track there in turn 1, but one person probably not going to get another lap in, considering lap time almost 2 minutes here. But yeah, Kumpu and Boardman should be able to get there. Actually, no, Boardman just crossed the line. So Boardman will have one more lap, and Kumpu will actually get a second
Ooh.
one after crossing the line.
Yes, indeed, he will. Very intense battle for qualifying here. Can the number 11 of Martin, can he improve? He's going in pit lane. Well, there's your question answered. Jakub Martin will probably stay P14. Unless Meerman improves. Late entry Meerman, the number 15 BMW, just made it 17 cars on the grid. Richard Meerman currently in last place. I think he could be on his out lap, possibly already on his first flying lap. The number 15, the Dutchman in Spain. Can he maybe make the life difficult of those around him? He is coming through the last couple of corners, really difficult last sector here. Of course, those very tight chicanes, which some of us hate, some of us love. I definitely don't. I prefer the newer Formula 1 layout. But Richard Meerman, currently in P17, can he improve? He has one more lap probably. It is going to be P16 for the Dutchman so far.
And in the meantime, we saw Kumpu cross the line. No improvement yet, but time for another lap. And I was wrong. Boardman also just going out for a new lap. So now it's between these two. Can Boardman improve and stay ahead? Or can Kumpu improve and get Boardman? But either way, big slide there from Richard Whittle. Either way, it's going to be very close between these two in the front. And I'm sure it's going to be very exciting during the race when these two fight it out.
The clock has ticked 0, and that means qualifying has ended. Everyone who will come over the line right now will finish their last lap in qualifying. And so the first qualifying on this Monday series, as Keith Whiffle improves and goes up to P13, has almost concluded. But not everyone has finished. Nico Kumpu is racing towards pole position. Can he improve? Is he on an improvement? We'll find out in just over a minute, I reckon. 3/10. He is off pole position. Andy Boardman right now with a 58.255. Maybe Andy Boardman can improve as well. But right now, Nico Kumpu will come over the line first and see if he can snap away pole position and make it interesting in the race. Let's see through these last couple of corners. Nico Kumpu goes, the Finnish driver goes, using the curbs this time to his advantage. Will that maybe help to improve, to get that so bittersweet pole position here on Barcelona? Nico Kumpu over the line, improves, but it is not enough for pole position. And so Andy Boardman, unless Roscam and Redford improve massively, has pole position, and he comes into the pit lane, confirming, celebrating his pole position, Stewie.
Yeah, what a shame there for Kumpu. Until the chicane in the end, he was actually up by almost 3/10, and then just didn't hit it as good as he did in his other lap and lost all the time there, but still very close. And that is half a second away from P3, but then behind P3, we have gaps that are 1/10, 2/10, very close.
It's going to be really interesting. Not only between P1 and P2, but between the rest of the field. We can clearly see Andy Boardman, 3 purple sectors, so pole position rightfully deserved for Andy Boardman. Nico Kumpu is then in second place, followed by Les Stevenson in third place, followed by Shipston, Edwards. Tibor Roskam finishes in 6th place. Mike Redford came over the line as P7. It will then be Jackson, Peter Varga in P9. Pimlott rounds off the top 10 in qualifying. Doobie in P11. It will be Richard Whiffle, followed by Keith Whiffle. Then P14 is for the number 4 BMW of Wojtek. Martin in P15. Richard Beerman qualifies in P16. And it's Joey Darby without a time in P17.
And Joe Dauber actually didn't even try
Yes.
to set a lap, if I'm correct. So maybe the
Really
plan is
interesting.
to just start in the back here and watch all the fights ahead and maybe grab some positions, because Barcelona, turn 1, very notorious for taking a few competitors out of the the race.
Joey Darby did really good in the GT4 Pro classification last Monday Championship in the Mini British GT season. He finished overall in P2, just behind Martin Lorink. Martin Lorink won that championship quite dominantly, but after that it was Joey Darby, and Joey Darby wasn't slow at all. But Martin Lorink had just unlocked a bit more pace in the race every time. It was really interesting to see. But Joey Darby, definitely a fast racer. So wonder what happened. It might be intentional. He might have had some steering wheel issue. You never know, but interesting for sure. We will have one mandatory pit stop as we normally have. And this is your pole sitter, Andy Boardman, and just behind that, as stated, just now is Nico Kumpu. Lovely livery of our own Roker Poker, Les Stevenson in P3. And after that, it will be Tom Shipston. Fantastic. The Roker Poker livery legend here at RCI. That's being driven by Les Stevenson. Stewie, we have a lot of beautiful liveries here. The last Monday Championship, we held a livery competition. Now, who that livery competition won, I'm not so sure anymore, but we had a livery competition. Out of all the liveries today, what is the best one?
I mean, the one we're looking at right now is definitely
It's
very
great, isn't
interesting. These Kaiser liveries always delivering. Is that a strawberry? Okay, so basically everybody who's flashing today will be a full simp. Noted. Yeah, these Team Monkey Racing liveries, we've seen them plenty of times before. Always a good contender for the liveries. There's a lot of what seems like custom in-game liveries, because obviously not everybody has the abilities or access to somebody with the abilities to make a full custom livery. But you can still make some interesting looking cars from the in-game editor by the color choices. And some choices good, some bad. Not looking at this brown.
Everyone has their opinions.
Yeah, some opinions are wrong and some are correct, I would say. But we got the nice hashtag Monday Gang on the last car. Very fitting. Because if this is your first time tuning into the stream, most of these drivers you see on the scoreboard at the moment, basically in every single Monday champ that we do. So yeah, they all know each other. They trust each other or know who not to trust, depending on who's the car. But yeah, definitely very good to see from our side as well that it's such a, let's say, tight-knit group of drivers that just keep coming back.
Yes, it's great to see, but the racing, because of it, also gets better because everyone, knows each other on track as well. Who is aggressive? Who is a bit passive? Who's gonna do what at the start? Of course, you can never fill things in for certain, but let's say Annie Boardman and Nico Kumpu probably they have raced each other multiple times, I'm sure. So they know each other, and they can almost sort of sometimes feel what one another is going to try, what one another is not going to try on track. Which, well, normally here at RCI, we race quite safe. I'm just gonna knock that off. Who knows? We might have a red flag at the start here now. I've seen it happen at Barcelona. But again, everybody knows each other, which makes for great racing. Speaking about great racing, we are almost about to start. 14 seconds and then the race warm-up lap will begin. We will race an hour here at the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya. An hour of a BMW M2 CS racing. It's going to be absolutely lovely, and the timer has ticked 0. And so we will almost start with the race. Stewie, there are a few things in mind that we need to keep in mind, especially with the pit stop tire changes and fuel.
I actually haven't looked at that yet. Maybe I should have. We do have
Throw you in the deep end now.
one mandatory pit stop and 1 liter of fuel required, and a 57-minute pit window. So very common in these RCI Monday races, but that means they don't have to change tires if they don't want to, and would gain about, I think it was 20 seconds, maybe a bit less, maybe 15, compared to those that do change the tires. Actually, no, because they could just fuel for the entire race. So we could see people don't change tires and put the whole tank in the car. So they have a very quick pit stop, basically just coming in, refueling 1 liter and going out. Or we might have people fueling half tank and changing tires. So yeah, this could turn out to be very interesting for the strategies. But yeah, as I mentioned before, we have to remember that on this track, the tires get used a lot, especially on the left side, and the M2 is not very known to be gentle on the tires. So I would be very surprised if we see people not change tires here. But yeah, we will find out in about 32 minutes.
Indeed we will. And yeah, we are almost going to be underway, like Stewie said, in this championship. And I wonder what's going to happen. I've just told you before, I've seen multiple red flags here at RCI. Now I don't think we will get the red flag, but the possibility at Catalunya is always there. Normally something always happens at the circuit of Barcelona, Catalunya. And in this hour race with BMW M2s that are very tricky, my bets are on that something is going to happen. But we'll save that for later. We'll find out very, very soon. Maybe not at the start, maybe at the end. Who knows? It's going to be an exciting race either way. 17 BMW M2s line up for the very first race here in the Sylvia TCX series. We will have again a 1 hour race here at Barcelona, and we will have a rolling start which is being led by Andy Boardman. But will Andy Boardman be threatened by Nico Kumpu, the Finnish driver? He might well be, but Les Stevenson is also there, and the slipstream is pretty strong in these BMW M2s. They don't have a lot of dirty air, so they're great for racing, but lights will almost go out here at the circuit of Barcelona, the Catalunya, and we are ready for the very first round here in this Sylvia TCX series. And when do the lights then go out? Andy Boardman is P1 currently, but he hasn't got a great start, and it's Nico Kumpu who takes advantage of the start. And can Nico Kumpu retain in the lead, or can Andy Boardman come back in the very first corner of this championship? Les Stevenson also didn't have the best start. It's on the outside for Andy Boardman. Can he stick with it? Can he stay on the inside? No, it's just not enough, and so he loses his pole position. He loses his lead at the very start in this race. There is some trouble just in the midfield. I think I see Mike Redford in a bit of a squabble with P8 Aaron Jackson. That is Mike Redford indeed on the outside of turn 3. Has had a really good start now, gets squashed wide on the outside, and so loses some positions. Furthermore, Andy Boardman close on the back of Nico Kumpu. Can Andy Boardman redeem that P1? Can he get back to the lead of this race? It's going to be exciting either way, and he has the inside for turn 6 race now, but can Nico Kumbu fight back? Incredible battle here between the leaders in this race. Eddie Boardman is still there and needs to let go of the fight, but that fight will definitely continue here.
Yeah, what a great start, and very clean as well. There's just 2 cars, the 11 and 15, that had a bit of a contact, and we might observe that here. That is the 15, and just a tiny bit of too wide of a line hitting the other car. Luckily, none of them with big damage, so they can continue to race. And at the front, I think Ted Edwards also lost out a bit at the start. Here we see a replay of Tom Shipston.
Oh,
Barely getting missed by Ted Edwards in the number 8 coming into the hairpin. Luckily, that didn't cause any big trouble. And we see Kumpu and Boardman again too wide there in the front. And Boardman really seems to be wanting back that P1, but I don't think it's going to happen in T1. Because it's very favorable for the inside here, and he's too wide. Then the inside turns to the outside, turns into the inside again, and tiny bit of contact there, bit on the grass, but could still keep it. And am I confusing these two? Which one of these is Boardman? It's the green one, right?
It's the right one, the right one. The green and yellow one is Andy Boardman, and just behind there is Nico Kumpu, but Les Stevenson can maybe benefit of this squabble. It's fighting left, right and center, even behind. Before can maybe have a little bit of a look here. Can Les Stevenson send one down the inside at Seat? No, he won't. He'll just stick behind for a while, but he needs to look in his rear view mirrors because Ted Edwards in the number 8 M2 is also there, and behind there he also needs to look in his mirrors because we have Tom Shipston, Mike Redford. These guys are all within roughly 2.5 seconds of each other. Les Stevenson really needing to look in his rear view mirror now because Ted Edwards is really close. Can he get the exit out of Kamsa? If so, then maybe he can launch one down the inside of Les Stevenson in a very tight hairpin. A very good overtaking spot there, as I think that's Tom Shipston looking down the inside of Ted Edwards there. It's really close racing. As I stated before at the beginning of this race, the dirty air isn't a lot. These cars don't have the most of downforce, so I already expected to see some great fighting, and well, great fighting we have received here at Barcelona. Tom Shipston still in P5, and it seems that Andy Boardman is getting away just a little bit. Mike Redford completely over the yellow curb there, maybe losing some time, needing to look in his rear view mirror because there's Aaron Jackson popping out of his rear view mirror because he's almost alongside it. Or does he need to take a defensive line to Tibor Roskam, the Belgium driver? And it's 3 wide into T1. Is it 3 wide into T1? It isn't, but it's an incredible shot nonetheless. Aaron Jackson trying to overtake Mike Redford with all he has. He has a little look down the outside of turn 2, but just can't quite get his nose in for turn 3, and that means he needs to look just behind because as soon as you attack, you might as well need to defend because every M2 is so close here at the circuit Catalunya. And well, this M2 start, these first 5 minutes of this new Monday Championship has given us great signs for more races to come because, well, I just can't keep up, Stewie.
Yeah, look at the standings tower on the left. Apart from P1 and P2, everybody's still within a second up to P13, and that's just great to see. And as expected, Boardman kind of driving away now. Was very strong in the first lap, pressuring Kumpu. They didn't want to lose any time in P2 and just get on with his ways. And it just seems like Kumpu not really able to keep up with the pace here, and kind of missed it, I think. But I think Ted Edwards was in P6 doing the first lap and then made up 2 positions again, or it maybe was the standings behavior of ACC here in the first lap. But either way, yeah, incredibly close race, and so far also very clean. We've seen one very close call, one tiny contact, and one actual spin, and apart from that, much cleaner than expected from this track.
Very funny. Well, up until now, Richard Whittle had the fastest lap of the race. The man currently in P12, and that fastest lap got taken over by Andy Portman, who currently finds himself in P1 getting chased by Nico Kumpu. But those guys are really, compared to all the other BMWs M2, in no man's land, because, well, like Stewie said, all of them are still within 5 tenths, 7 tenths, 4 tenths. This is Joey Darber trying to get up to P9. He needs to overtake Neil Pimlott, and he has a good run coming out of turn 3 and into turn 4, has the inside, and will he get that P9? Pimlott doesn't make his life very difficult, or well, he might as well get a switchback, and he does indeed. Will he fight Joey Darber all the way to say up turn 5? No, he won't. He will give that position up and maybe not lose as much time as he would fighting with Joey Darber. And so Joey Darber in the 777 BMW M2 moves up 1 place.
And we see a 10-second penalty there on the left. And I don't think we've mentioned it, but we do have live stewarding for this championship. And that has to be for the contact we saw in lap 1, turn 1, or turn 2. Oh, it's one big turn. And indeed it is. It's the replay already saw, or going a bit too wide. Yep, and driving into the
side of Richard Meerman there, the Dutchman.
Yeah.
Just,
I was a bit confused with the numbers, because we have a penalty for car 11, but it looked like it was car 15 driving into car 11, but yeah, maybe not used to the deliveries yet.
Well, anyways, Martin, well, he spun around, he sort of paid the price, and pit window was open, and so we have a first pit stopper. It's going to be Tom Shipston, who makes the very first pit stop of this race. In last Monday championship, the pit window was a bit narrower, and it isn't. You almost have the whole race to make a pit stop, and Tom Shipston will make use of that. From, I think he was P5, now dropping down to what probably is last. See if he can win some time. I think Shipston is just thinking, why squabble with these cars if I can just drive in clean air and maybe gain my time on everyone else around me like that. And well, I think Tom Shipston might have a very, very good strategy here. We'll see at the end of the race, or when everyone has made their pit stop. There is some squabble behind, and also for P5 here, Aaron Jackson down the inside of Mike Redford, and almost identical to the two drivers behind of Dorber and Roskam. Aaron Jackson still having a little bit of a look at the car of Mike Redford at that P5, but he needs to look in his rear view mirrors, because there is the number 96 of Tibor Roskam. I said it before, I'll say it once again: as soon as you attack in these BMW M2s, you need to be ready to defend, and Aaron Jackson definitely needs to be ready to defend, and so does Mike Redford. He did get a bit defensive there, and oh, Aaron Jackson has a huge moment there, but it was Mike Redford who went very wide into the hairpin. I saw him taking a bit of a defensive line, but it seems that he had outbraked himself, and he lost 1 position, and he loses 2 position as the car behind him almost loses the back of the car. But Joey Darber losing 2 positions in, well, the span of almost 1 corner. Again, 1 mistake is pretty fatal here at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, especially with these BMW M2s, and it's going to be Mike Redford heading in pit lane as well, trying to lose as less time as possible, fighting between these positions, these 2 cars in Catalunya. Joey Darber being one of those cars, and well, very interesting strategy, Stewie.
Yeah, these drivers going in so early means they are very likely not changing tires and not refueling more than the 1 liter required fuel. And we will know that once other cars go into the pits, and we can compare the pit stop times. But yeah, pretty sure they are just doing the 1 liter required fuel, basically just splash and dash, no tire changes, and hoping to gain some time in the free air. And yeah, in the end, we will see if that works out or if maybe the tires don't hold up for a whole hour, so they will lose time or might lose more time to the drivers taking fuel and tires. But yeah, we will find that out in the end. Meanwhile, Dauber still on the back of Jackson here. And you mentioned when you try to overtake that you have to look to the back instantly. And I think that is what makes these cars so fun, because every kind of move you try to do outside of the ideal line will just slow everybody down, and that just keeps the groups together and yeah, makes the racing so much fun. And also slight contacts in these cars have way less of an impact than in the GT3s, because they're just so heavy. So you can have a bit more contact racing in these cars, despite the very finicky physics in ACC.
You know, rubbing is racing, and this car is truly risk versus reward. We are seeing this in the first 12 minutes of this race, of the championship already. And you know, Joey Darber now wants to get a move on Aaron Jackson, but if that move doesn't go as planned, then he might find himself losing a position to P7. And Aaron Jackson now isn't defending, and can P7 then P6 maybe benefit. Oh, that's very close between the two teammates. Hubert Roskam was very close, exiting turn 1 and to the rear of Joey Darber. But Joey Darber not attacking Aaron Jackson so far, so maybe they're just thinking we need to work together instead of squabble and fighter, because otherwise people like Tom Shipston and Mike Redford will gain time on us eventually later on in the race when they make their pit stop. This is a fight for P3, Les Stevenson and I think Ted Edwards are squabbling for the podium positions in this race, as Aaron Jackson benefits from a mistake of Joey Darber there. Joey Darber now P6, losing the position to Jackson there. The 99 BMW overtaking the 777 in Seat, turn 5 that is. And so Joey Darber now frustrated a little bit, probably. Because, well, he can't get a move on. He had that position for a while, tried it and failed eventually. Oh, and is trying another attempt, second attempt here this lap, Joey Darber. Oh,
there was
we have
a
an
spin.
incident. A spin for Aaron Jackson, and well, how did that come about? I hope to see a replay, but while ours going on about the move for P5 and P6, Aaron Jackson loses the car. This is the overtake Joey Darber made on Aaron Jackson. And I think Aaron Jackson just got weird out of got a tap. Oh, he got tapped around by, well, that would be P7 then, almost getting into the side of Peter Wager there. But I think live stewarding will definitely be necessary for that one.
Yeah, I think it just caught off the driver behind a tiny bit that Jackson had such a wide line and then turned in again and was a bit slower than you usually would be there. So yeah, just very unfortunate. Also forgot to mention earlier, we had a warning for Nico Kumpu for the slight contact we saw in T2 between Kumpu and Boardman. So they are on the warning, and usually as in RCI, we have 2 warnings equal 1 penalty, which would be, I think, 5 seconds. Not sure, but yeah, basically he's on the naughty list already and needs to be careful now. You see Ted Edwards behind Les Stevenson, and it was very close last lap. Ted was within 1/10, but couldn't make the move stick. Maybe now in what I would call one of the best sections to make an overtake, because you have the heavy braking zone and you can just brake a tiny bit later than the car ahead of you and not too late. Then you can maybe stick it on the inside there. The rest of the track very difficult to overtake, but it doesn't look like Ted is trying it here now. Just staying behind at the moment. Maybe not feeling like he's much quicker than Les at the moment, and rather than losing more time fighting towards Nico Kumpu, just yeah, using a bit of the slipstream and staying behind here.
The first 16 minutes of this race have been driven, and Ted Edwards is still in P4, and maybe this group can get a little bit closer in the coming laps. But to recap the race, the first 60 minutes, if you haven't seen it, we have had a very chaotic start. But my question is now, Tom Shipton and Mike Redford, they were the early pitters here in this race. Pitted the first 10 minutes, first 12 minutes of this race. And they're in clean air now. They're not fighting with each other. These guys all are keeping an eye on each other, and that definitely has some influence. That Stevenson is looking in his mirrors. He may be getting attacked by Ted Edwards very soon, maybe even in the next corner or so already, not so far. But these guys are just losing time. Andy Boardman, oh, that's a very big moment for Les Stevenson, but it's enough to keep Ted Edwards at bay. And look at that, that is Joey Darber who benefits from all this. Les Stevenson breaking out wide once again, but finding the pace nonetheless and keeping his car in front of these two drivers. Joey Darber is, well, he has found his pace more and more throughout this race. He started, I think, in P5, P6 if I'm not mistaken, maybe even P7, and he's overtaken some cars, or has overtaken our injection, overtaken Neil Pimlott, Thibaut Roskam, and now he's on his way to maybe even get a podium spot in this race. But that Edwards is still there in that number 8 BMW M2, but this is an incredible group. 3 BMW M2s fighting it out for the third spot in this race. Very, very cool, very interesting, this one.
Yeah, and I don't think the slide from Stevenson was self-inflicted.
Oh, really?
I think I might have seen a contact between Ted and him, but yeah, not sure. But that would explain why Ted lost some time, and we might see a replay of it again here.
And yes, I think you're right.
Yeah,
I think you're right.
Yeah, so that would explain why Ted lost some time there, because then obviously having to brake.
Something happened here with Les Stevenson. He slowed down the straight, and he's lost P3. He's currently in P6. Surely something must have happened with Les Stevenson. This is a race replay. Yes, just a trip through the gravel there at the very last corner. We can't exactly see what happened before that and how it came about. But Les Stevenson made, I think, a self-inflicted error on his own merit, and you know, you lose time, you lose positions. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I don't think there was a contact. Maybe just being a bit too wide, and yeah, a bit too wide after the chicane, and then if you hit the grass, you just cannot turn in, and basically you have to ride the gravel until the track is straight again. Very unfortunate for Les, and also very unfortunate for us, because we don't have a three-way fight for P3 anymore. Now it's just between Ted and Joe Dauber, but these are still very close here, fighting. And I think we didn't have another penalty. So at the moment, very clean, and not a lot of things to look at for the stewards. But who knows? This battle is getting heated up, and I don't think this will end without any contact, hopefully without any incidents. And I've also seen a lot of drivers already going off the track, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see 1 or 2 drive-thrus for track limits. And look how close Ted is here behind Joe Dauber. But then the second part of the chicane just cannot keep it that close behind, and yeah, this is just too far to make a move into T1.
Am I already seeing some blue flags, or that we just see an overtake for P5 and P6 now? I think we saw some blue flags there. Yes, I see some blue flags waving there at the circuit. And this is Neil Pimlott. We're currently watching Les Stevenson overtaking. That is the 157. That is Keith Whiffle, who's going, well, pretty slowly there. Neil Pimlott needing to find his way around the Belgium driver. That's definitely costing himself time. Not only Keith Whiffle, but Neil Pimlott will lose a lot of time, and now Whiffle chooses to just let go of P7. We have one DNF, and that isn't Richard Meerman, which I thought it would be. I think we had a drive-through, and I completely forgot his name. Anyways, we do have a DNF. That's we have a first DNF of this championship with 38 minutes and 39 seconds to go here at Barcelona, the Circuit Catalunya.
You know how I just mentioned that we don't have any more penalties?
Yes.
Well, we do. And it is the incident we saw in the hairpin earlier, where we have 10 seconds for the car 96 that drove into the 99, and we have 5 seconds for the 99 for the rejoin, which we also saw, kind of just going a bit too early and driving into the side of Varga was. Then we also have a racing incident, which is the contact we saw between Ted and Les. And we have a warning for car 8, which, maybe the warning is for the contact we saw, where Les got a tiny bit loose on the rear, and then a bit before we had a racing incident between these two. And for now, that seems to be it, and we have Withal and Varga fighting for P8 here.
Peter Varga being in the midfield of this championship. I expected Peter Varga to be a little bit higher up, but he's currently in P8 and maybe he can improve even more. He also has Thibaut Roskam. I was going to say Thibaut Roskam just in front of him, but that is Keith Wiffel in front of him, still being lapped by these drivers. Keith Wiffel has made one pit stop yet, and Richard Wiffel coming up on him as well. P8 and P7 fighting with each other, losing time to Tom Shipston and Mike Redford. Where will Thibaut Roskam, be at the end of his outlap? I see Tom Shipston overtaking him, Mike Redford is overtaking him as well. So I expect also with 36 minutes to go, the first, well, I wouldn't say real pit stoppers, but they aren't, of course, real pit stoppers because Tom Shipston, Mike Redford and Thibaut Roskam have all done a mandatory pit stop, but it's really rare to see those first pit stops being made in the first 10 minutes of this race, especially when it's the tires, especially it's pretty hot at the Circuit de Barcelona. I've heard some rumors in chat, some people saying in chat that the tires will burn here today, the tires will melt here today at Barcelona, so some people might want to opt to change tires and only find that out later in the race. The risk Tom Shipston and Mike Redford have is because they didn't change tires, they might get a bit too much tire wear at the end of the race, but we can only speculate. For now, Andy Boardman is still in P1 with Luca Kumpo in P2 just behind.
And at the moment, Shipston, Redford, Roskam, their pit stop times 46, 45, 47 seconds, so they're definitely all on the same strategy, though some of them pitted earlier. But once we see the front runners go in, we see what let's say the general suggested strategy is, probably. While we watch, that is Shipston chasing Meerman, and Meerman obviously hasn't done their pit stop yet. So Shipston would be very happy if just getting led by, and it seems like that is what is going to happen. Of course, Meerman, no obligation to let that happen, which can be very frustrating for the drivers behind sometimes. But they're still in the same race on the same lap, so there's nobody forcing him to do that. It's just being nice at this point. Now Shipston can get some times out of this car. And looking at the times, if we check out Mike Redford and Roskam, pitted a bit earlier, it doesn't look like they're much faster than the group that they were in before the pit stop. So I don't think they're actually gaining that much time. It might just be enough to just fight with the car alone. But yeah, we're gonna see. Do you remember where they were? I think they were about P5, P6, Stevens and Pimlott. So yeah, when these drivers come into the pits, we will see if the strategy worked out for Watford and Roscam.
Very close battle here between Peter Varga and Richard Whittle. The battle we saw a few laps ago is still going on. Richard Whittle, well, trying to force an error at the side of Peter Varga. But Peter Varga not giving in so far. Just in front of that is Neil Pimlott in the 136 BMW M2. So they're chasing the Britishman currently. But Peter Varga also needs to look in his rear view mirrors as the track temperature has risen to 18 degrees, so that's 1 degree more than what we started with. And I wonder when these two then will make their pit stops. Will it be at exactly halfway, or will it maybe be somewhere towards the end of the race? These two still fighting. Nonetheless, Peter Varga trying to take the inside line to create a bit more of a gap to Richard Whittle. And so far, Richard Whittle, he's fast, but he can't quite get an overtaking move in so far. Maybe that can all change in the matter of a few corners. Look, Richard Whittle is closing in, helped by the slipstream there, trying to look down the inside, forcing an error at Peter Varga's side once again, but Peter Varga keeps his head cool, and also just driving towards Neil Pimlott a little bit. Gap is 1 second. Last lap it was 8/10. Richard Whittle getting a bit of a heated back end there, coming out of, I think that's turn 9 into these two chicanes then, is to have, well, chicanes, they're not really chicanes of course, they're just really, it's a really technical sector. What they are chicanes, you can call them chicanes really.
Yeah, definitely. I would also call that a chicane.
I was confusing hairpin with chicanes for some reason, but anyway,
I mean,
Richard,
the very tight chicanes almost happen.
if there were a few degrees, you know, a few degrees more, they would have counted as hairpins, but they're chicanes for now. They're horrible chicanes. I'm really glad they implemented the well, it's really the original last corner, because in older times, older Formula One times, the chicane of course never existed, and they implemented the chicane. What was it? Maybe I'm completely wrong. In this 2016 was, I think 2017 it was. But you know, so far, chicane still stays on ACC.
Yeah, I have no idea. I can just imagine that it might be fun for motorcycles, but yeah. But on the topic of tire temps, what you mentioned, I just saw Joe Dauber in the chat on YouTube mentioned that the front left is melting even at these temps. That must have been during qualifying then, or between qualifying and the race, which just confirms what we've talked about, that this track is not very friendly towards the tires, especially on the left side. And if he is saying that here, more than 100 degrees, we might see Dauber changed tires and maybe being the only one that as well.
Maybe. I mean, the BMW is a very heavy car, which means it leans on its tires a lot. Especially, of course, because we have more left-handers, like Joey Dauber says. And so it's the weight of the car is not only is the left getting used a lot, it's the weight of this car that probably does the most harm, because it's a heavy car, and the heavier the car, the more the car will lean on the outside tire. And you know, with temperatures, with all this considered, it's probably going to be bad tire wear for you. And I think of course, everyone is in the same boat unless someone manage the tire very, very well. then it's a different case. But everyone is theoretically really in the same boat. So everyone will need to deal with the tire wear. And of course, like Stewie said, this will create a speculation of who will change tires and who won't.
And we currently see Dauber driving away from Ted Edwards, who couldn't really keep the pace after the few laps that we saw them fight together. It kind of just broke up there, this fight, when was it Chipston? I think when Chipston pitted, and these three just stopped fighting, and then Ted kind of lost that pace. But look at that gap between Joe Dauber and Nico Kumpu, already 12 seconds. And also between Kumpu and Boardman, 4 seconds. The gap steadily growing. Now Boardman not having any signs of slowing down here. And there we see Dauber going to the double hairpin, what we call that now. Coming onto the last corner, and there you see if Dauber would just be a tiny bit further in the front when exiting that curb, would dip your front left tires into the grass, and then you would see what happened to, was it Stevenson? Yeah, I think it was Stevenson. We saw go a bit on an off-road course there, and yeah, it kind of the gaps just widened. We don't have any close fights, and as I say that, we have Whittle and Vargas still fighting. Whittle might get a chance now. That looks very good.
On the inside, which is Whittle, but last minute backing out of it. He had a very good chance, it seemed, to overtake Peter Varga there, but in the end he decided to not go for that move and just stay behind Peter Varga. I'm so sorry, by the way, it's Joe Dauber instead of Joey. The habit. We have a lot of Joeys here in the Netherlands, so Joe Dauber it is. I'll keep that in mind. Punch me if I don't. Richard Whittle, in any case, trying to overtake Peter Varga once again. He's been trying it for, what now, 8 laps. Fantastic to see. But Richard Whittle just not finding his way by Peter Varga, as everyone is sort of coming in for their pit stops now. I wonder who will be the first of these two to make a pit stop, because their out lap and their in lap, both of them, is going to be crucial. As Richard Whittle is just a tiny bit faster, he may well take the position of Peter Varga, but that is all speculations. Those are all rumors, and what theoretically can happen we will find out practically in probably a few minutes time, unless one of them decide to pit all the way to the end of the race. Again, the pit window is basically open for the whole race, so anything can happen. Everyone can pit at any time, and that makes for very interesting strategies here. Richard Whittle still in pieces.
Usually what happens is the further in front of the grid you are, the later you want to pit, because if you pit earlier, you might end up in the midfield and you have to fight through other people that haven't pitted yet and might not want to let you through. So yeah, we will probably see Boardman Kumpu pit at the very end. We did see Ted Edwards and Neil Pimlett pit though last lap, and Ted Edwards with 53 seconds and Pimlett with 50 seconds, which seems like either just a bad pit stop because they missed the pit, or just because they fueled a bit, but definitely not enough for a tire change. So for now, I think none of these drivers have changed their tires. Actually, Dominik Wojciech with a 1 minute 18, so maybe they have changed their tires. But I think the rest of the field still on the just a tiny bit of fuel strategy. And it seems like between Whittle and Varga, it's like there's 1 or 2 laps of intense fighting, and then Whittle lets off a tiny bit again, or maybe feels that the tires are overheating and just has to cool down the tires. And yeah, it's kind of a wave of coming and going with these two.
Nico Kumpu 4.8 seconds behind the leader in the race. That is Andy Boardman. 4.8 seconds, maybe, just maybe, he would have closed that gap, or even would have been in front if he was using the setup of our beloved partners, Coach Dave Delta. Coach Dave Delta can help you climb the sim racing ladder with help from their apps, setup, coaching, and more. Even so, here at RCI, be sure to check them out. Now we're going about our partners anyway. I might as well name our beautiful partners of Ready Set Sim for their best. Check them out for your best sim rig. Build the sim rig of your dreams. We also have Green Man Gaming, which can make you have huge savings on your PC. Of course, we also have Moser Racing, which needs no introduction. We then also have our beautiful partners of PMAX. Pimax delivers class-leading clarity and resolution with its current range of VR headset. Learn more about how you can get a discount today by visiting their website. Motorsport UK, of course, also needs no introduction. We need a special thank you for Motorsport UK for selecting us as a recommended esports community. And those are all our lovely partners. Neil Pimlott in P11 with 22 minutes to go has already finished his pit stop, his mandatory pit stop today. The only ones that still need to make a stop are Andy Boardman, Nico Kumpu, Joey Taba, Les Stevenson, Peter Varga, and Richard Wiffel. Now, I said at the beginning I was very interested what Tom Shipson will do and Mike Redford. Both pitted earliest of the field. They're currently the lead cars that have stopped yet. So that have already stopped. So they maybe could take the fight to maybe Andy Boardman, maybe Nico Kumpu. I think we'll find out very soon.
Yeah, I don't think anyone will bring the fight to Boardman or Kumpu there. Even if Boardman and Kumpu would change tires and the rest didn't, the gap is just too big at the moment. Of course, mistakes can happen all the time, and we still haven't seen a drive-through for track limits yet, unless that was the DNF that you mentioned earlier. I actually did not notice anybody getting a DT already. But yeah, at the moment, just everybody cruising along, probably trying to survive on these tires, and in the heat that is not even warm on the track. It's just these tires on this track in this car. The Pimlott goes through the double hairpin. I almost named the corner wrong. And here we see Merman coming to the actual hairpin. Or do we call that the mini chicane now?
Nah, we call it a hairpin. That's an actual hairpin.
I mean, the next corner is the opposite direction. So if you just have a very wide view of the track, you could say it's a chicane.
Yeah, you could, but we're calling it a hairpin now. Chicanes, hairpins, whatever. They're all called corners, and they all lose or win you time. And this time, Richard Meerman may win a little bit on P14, the number 4 of Wojtek. And currently, Meerman making his debut here in the Monday Championship, trying to get the most of it. Currently in P13, Joey Darber then still in P3. Wonder when he will make his first pit stop.
Yeah, I think, as I said before, I think the drivers at the top will just wait till the very last minute, so there's no chance of them ending up behind other cars that haven't pitted yet. And yeah, again, currently just cruising along. Joe Dauber here, coming through P1, 2, and 3. And surprisingly little sliding we see at the moment. You would have thought that at this point, with the tires, that there would be a bit more struggling, but maybe everybody just very careful during the race and not overdriving the car too much. And yeah, I have some not so fond memories of this track. What happens if you don't take care of your tires here? Maybe not in the M2, but especially remember racing the Porsche Cup car. And I think that was in like 45 degrees, so all the factors combined did not make for a very fun race.
.18 minutes and 40 seconds remaining here at the Circuit of Spain. That Edwards finding himself in the top 10 and will no doubt move up in that top 10 when everyone decides to make their pit stop. It's taking a surprisingly long time. Especially for me, I expected everyone to have made their pit stop already, but it hasn't seemed that way. Andy Boardman still out on track, just like last lap really. All the cars in the top 6 are still on track at this 4.7 kilometer long circuit. Everyone finding themselves consistent, but it's a long race, it's an hour long race, and that means the field will spread itself eventually. This is how racing works. Field spread is a thing, it exists. Everyone just finding their own pace, finding their own rhythm as Aaron Jackson gets by a lapped car. Aaron Jackson currently in where's Aaron Jackson? I must be blind because I can't find Aaron Jackson on the timing screen, but he surely is there because there are still 16 people driving.
Maybe you found the DNF.
Maybe, but I thought I saw the car of Aaron Jackson, but my eyes could completely deceive me there, or it's just ACC being weird. But we probably found the DNF then, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't remember seeing them at all, so it must have been a very early DNF then.
Yeah, because the car in front is Andy Boardman, but Andy Boardman, Aaron Jackson, probably confused those two. But Aaron Jackson, yeah, being our first DNF, I didn't even notice it was Aaron Jackson that that was the first DNF of the season.
Oh yeah, it's the 99. That is the car that got spun in the hairpin.
Yes, by Fibo Boskamp.
Yep. Yeah, I didn't notice that either, that they left after that. Probably thought they lost too much time there, plus the penalty they got, and yeah, just didn't want to continue with the race. We see a yellow flag there, that is the 96. Talking about Wascam, but it looks like that was self-inflicted, judging by how lonely they are on the track at the moment. And do we see some damage? I don't think so. I mean, he looks to be driving quite slowly, but we don't see any visible damage. And I don't think there was any contact because there was nobody close to him. So yeah, maybe just going on the grass, the gravel on the exit of a corner, maybe just losing the car in general. Fortunate for them. I think they might have lost a position, or at the very least made it easier for Pimlott to gain that position.
"15 minutes remaining, so the first 45 minutes of this season have already concluded, but the race is definitely far from finished. Tom Shipson still in P7. It will all come together in, well, a few laps time when everyone will make their pit stop. When does everyone make their pit stop? I've said it multiple times here, but for now still 6 people need to make their pit stop. Again, I touched on it very early on. A very difficult car to drive, this BMW M2 CS Cup car, but so far everyone finding themselves surviving it. We haven't really seen a lot of big crashes, we haven't really seen a lot of big incidents. Les Stevenson went wide in the last corner in the middle of the race, and so he lost his P3. Les Stevenson currently in P4, Joe Darber in P3. Les Stevenson also losing touch to P3 completely. This is Mike Redford. Behind Tom Shipston is Mike Redford. The gap is roughly 7.8 seconds the last time I checked. 7.3 seconds, so maybe he's gaining a little bit, but these two drivers keeping themselves fairly balanced, and you know, they wanted to make an early pit stop. They did make an early pit stop, and see if that will come to their advantage later on in the race when everyone does make their pit stop. But so far it is the waiting game for Mike Redford and Tom Shipston. Just behind that is Ted Edwards, who was also fighting for the podium spot, but now finds himself in P9.
Looking at the current gaps, there might be a good chance for Tom Shipston to end up in P3, because we have 8 seconds to P6, then another 2.5 seconds to P5, then I think it's about 12 seconds? 16, okay, and then 14 to P3. And the pit lane is very long at Barcelona, so yeah, I think there's a good chance Shipston might end up in P3, but at the very least it will be P4, and that might be putting Redford in exactly the same spot where he pitted. So I don't think they gained anything, but they didn't lose anything either. And yeah, Ted also still losing time to the car ahead. But this time it's Redford and not Shipston. Yeah, not a lot happening at the moment. We have a fight at the back between P15 and P16 there. And that was Marcin, I think, making the move on Withall already. So, oh, never mind. Here we go with Marcin getting the position back. So these two, even though they are, I think at this point, 2 laps behind due to crashes, both of them. Marcin was in the first lap in the first corner, and Withall at some point, I think also self-inflicted, had a spin, which put them a bit behind everybody else. But yeah, nonetheless, these two having a fun fight here at the back.
Battling for the wooden spoon, as they say in proper English, and these two drivers are definitely battling for the wooden spoon, but they are battling very hard nonetheless. And then the time is ticking down, almost 10 minutes to go. There goes Martin, who almost loses the rear, of his BMW N2. Touched on it earlier on in the race session, of course. His BMW M2 is a tricky car to drive, and well, the number 11 shows how tricky that BMW is to drive. It's got a very loose rear end, and especially when you overheat your tires, when someone overheats their tires, because there's a real possibility here, then the rear ends gets really snappy. Joe Darber currently finding himself still in P3. Really go and make a pit stop this lap. He's coming into that very tricky technical final section of the track, going through one chicane, avoiding the curbs, and then the other chicane. Joe Darber, can he improve maybe on his lap time? Maybe we can see at the right bottom, sometimes we see what their last lap time is and what their best lap time is. Yes, indeed. Can he improve on his best lap time? No, but he's pretty close to it. The 1:59.4 for the 777 BMW. Andy Boardman still comfortably leading here then at the Circuit Catalunya here in Spain. Nico Kumpu roughly 7 seconds behind. Kumpu tried to fight Andy Boardman he was fighting Andy Boardman for 2 laps straight, but then sadly for Nico Kumpu, for the Finnish driver, had to let go of P1, and Andy Boardman never looked back since, and he's trying to increase the lead lap by lap, and he is doing so. 9 minutes left in this 1 hour long race. Hugo Duby, the Frenchman, in his M2, finding himself in the, like we call it, John Dalton zone, in no man's land with a not so streamlined front end. And that means, well, his corner capabilities of the BMW M2 aren't going that smoothly so far.
I don't know if you've seen it, Dan, but there was a clip of one of these Monday drivers of their practice during the week, and we saw a car flip on their head and flip back on all four wheels, driving over the curbs in the right-hander before the chicane. And that was the first time I've seen a car do that on its own. It's quite a good clip there.
Oh, how lovely. That's, that's very good practice. Knowing a BMW M2 can end up on its roof as well. Very good practice.
It's good to know what not to do.
Yes.
As we see Doobie here going through this long right-hander. And yeah, we have Whittle. Did Whittle gain a bit on Peter Varga again? I feel like the gap got a bit bigger in the last laps, but I think maybe now the gap is closing a bit again. And of course, 2.3 seconds is not a lot if we consider that both of these drivers still have to make a pit stop, where everything or nothing can go wrong. And as I'm saying that, Whittle coming to the pits, I don't think Varga did come in. Nope, it was only Whittle. But that will probably mean that Varga will come in next lap and try to basically respond to what Whittle just did. And might see an early standings update of where Whittle will end up in. Currently in P7, but yeah, we'll drop a few positions down.
Richie Whittle will definitely, given Tom Shipton was only 8 seconds behind him, and a pit stop will probably be 20 seconds, depending on how much fuel someone will take. But, the last pit stop finally being made, as the 957 of Whittle is coming out of pit lane now, and he's going to come out behind Neil Pimlott. There will be P12 then, and I wonder when the 777 of Joe Darber will make his pit stop. Darber currently in P3. Does any one of the leading cars make his pit stop? No, it doesn't seem so, and Joe Darber also stays out, so he continues for another lap, and Les Stevenson with 17.9 seconds behind, and also with 17.9 seconds to spare behind in front of Peter Varga. Will he then make his pit stop in the Roker Poker livery? No, he will not, so they will stay out for a couple of more laps, and with 5 minutes and 40 seconds to go, the pit window and also the race is ticking down.
And the pit stop of Whittle was 51 seconds, so also doesn't look like they changed tires. Of course, now that late in the race it wouldn't make any sense to change the tires, but also looks like they had a full tank and only did a splash dash, but maybe missed the box a bit because it's still in a reasonable window compared to the other drivers. And as mentioned, Peter Varga now in the pits as well, and if Varga can get a tiny bit of a better stop, then it will stay ahead of Whittle, and it looks to be a very quick stop, watching it on a second screen here in our box, so I don't think Whittle any chance of overtaking Varga here. Varga coming out now and Whittle just crossing the line. Varga did a very good job with a 46-second pit stop, which is that's the second fastest pit stop so far.
I wonder, Stewie, If you were driving in this race, would you have gone for a late stop or an early stop? And tell us why.
I mean, as I've already talked about, if you're in the leading group of cars, I would definitely go for the late pit stop because, well, two reasons mainly. First, if you do an early stop and you end up in the traffic of the slower cars, then you will have to fight your way through there, which loses you a lot of time. And also, with it being only one mandatory pit stop, if you make the stop early and then you have an incident and maybe get some damage, you have to do a second stop. But if you just leave yourself open to doing your mandatory stop at the very end, you always have the opportunity to repair some damage there. So yeah, definitely would be going for as late as possible.
Very close fight. I was going to say between these two drivers. This is Richard Meerman in P13. He needs to get by a lapped car, and that's Keith Whiffle. Keith Whiffle is, well, he was battling the number 11 BMW M2 of Martin, but Richard Meerman trying to overtake the lapped car and not working out so smoothly for him. Andy Boardman has made his pit stop. He's out on track currently, the 69 BMW M2, and he is, I think he's roughly 20 seconds ahead of Tom Shipston, even more so, 28 seconds ahead of Tom Shipston. So I doubt Tom Shipston will get a P3. Nico Kumpu will come in this lap, no doubt. Joe Darber will come in this lap, no doubt. And then we will find out where everyone is placed. I wonder if Joe Darber will retain his P3. Maybe Tom Shipston has pushed enough, has done enough to get a podium spot, but we'll see in about 45 seconds times, because everyone is coming in for their final pit stop now, Stewie.
You're right, and we've seen Andy Boardman coming to the pit last lap, also with a 42.3 pit stop. And I would expect the same from Nico Kumpu, Joe Darber, and Les Stevenson now as well. And really cutting it close there. 9 seconds left on the time when Stevenson crossed the line. And here we have Andy Boardman coming out on the outlap, of course, in P1. And Nico Kumpu just coming out of the pits, still in P2, into T1. Nico Kumpu's pit stop with 45.3. That was in fact the fastest pit stop out of everybody. Joe Darber with a 46.9, also very decent. And there we see the last car coming out of the pits, Les Stevenson, overtaken by Mike Redford and Ted Edwards. So Les lost the positions. Because if I remember correctly, it was at least Ted chasing Les, and maybe Tom Shipston as well?
Well, of course, Les Stevenson was driving P3 at the beginning, and then he made that mistake. So I think he lost quite a few positions. I think right. Mike Redford just overtook Les Stevenson. So I think, I'm not sure about Ted Edwards, but I think Les Stevenson didn't lose so much at the end of the story. Andy Boardman has driven dominantly throughout this entire race. He had a difficult 2 laps because he had Nico Kumpu on his tail, but after that he sailed away in full force and is now coming through the last corners to claim his first victory of the season. And so if all goes well through the last corner, we have your first winner here in the TCX Sylvia series here at RCI, and his name is Andy Boardman. Wins the first race of the season with a 7.7 second gap to Nico Kumpu, the Finnish driver, who will finish in P2 for Rebound Racing. And just behind that, it will be Joe Darber in the 777 BMW M2, holding off Tom Shipston for that third spot, for that final podium spot. Tom Shipston tried to make the early pit strategy work, and well, it did work for him in the end, but it wasn't enough for a P3 spot. Beautiful livery, most wanted and Need for Speed livery, by the way. Great Easter egg. Mike Redford then finishing in P5, followed by Ted Edwards, followed by Les Stevenson, who had, I mean, Les Stevenson, he can definitely come back. The Roker Poker livery. He had an amazing race at the start, and then just didn't went his way this race. But I'm sure Les Stevenson will come back. Fibo Roskam in P9. Neil Pimlott will finish in P9. I think he will be very happy with that. Peter Vaga will finish in P10. Excuse me, it's Thibaut Roskam who finishes in P8. Richard Wiffel will come over the line in P11. It's going to be Hugo Duby in P12, a comfortable P12 for Duby. Just behind that, it will be Richard Meerman, and I think just in front of that, Keith Wiffel will also come over the line. It's then the number 15 car of Meerman still needs to come over the line. Yes, Richard Meerman, the Dutchman, is the last to come over the line, and that means this first race in the Sylvia Series TCX Cup here at RCI has concluded, and we have one winner, of course. His name is Andy Boardman, quite dominantly driven away after those first two laps. I said it before. Nico Kumpu will finish in P2, has finished in P2, followed by Joey Darber, followed by Shipston, followed by Mike Redford, who is the last one in the top 5. Well, what a race we've had, Stewie. We've had quite some action. We had some strategic play in there as well. What do you make of all of this?
Yeah, this start of the race, very clean, surprisingly clean, and a lot of close fights there. Unfortunately, towards the middle of the race in the end, all the gaps were kind of a bit too big due to some small minor mistakes and just slightly different pace. So unfortunately, not quite the close finish we hoped for. But yeah, as far as season openers go, not a bad one. And yeah, we were missing a few drivers here, so maybe in the coming races we will have a bit more competition. But for these drivers, even in P16, you get points. So nobody here today going out empty-handed, which is very good for everybody.
It's almost a win-win. At least everybody is happy, and this race was great. We'll maybe expect some more cars for next week, and next week will be held at Misano, so round 2 will be held at Italian soil. And before we end off the stream, before we end this first race of the season, first stream of this Monday series, we need to thank our partners, of course, Coach Delta, RSS Racing, Greenland Gaming, Moser Racing, Pimax, and of course Motorsport UK. We cannot forget, these are also some of your highlights in this first race of the Sylvia TCX series. Well, we have no interviews for today, so we're going to round off the stream, and we'll be back next week at Misano, at again Italian soil, at the 25th of August, with maybe some more cars on the grid as well. I thank you all for watching this new Monday series, the Sylvia TCX series, and again, we'll be back for round 2 at Misano next week. We'll see you all there. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.
You ready? 3, 2, 1, go. Get behind the wheel, let's go. Grip the road, feel the flow. Thunder roaring, steel alive. Live this dream and drive. Tires burning with gasoline. Push the limits, chasing green. One shot, don't slow. Go on, we'll take control. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. The miles they fade, but they don't die. Faster now, the hours fly by. Sweat and gears, hearts in sync. On the edge, on the brink. Clock ticks down, stakes are high. One mistake, we kiss us goodbye. Don't slow down, we're not done. Finish line for the strong ones. Engines scream alive tonight. Blazing past the red line. Outrun the night, won't lose this fight. Follow the road, red line for show. We're chasing taillights, don't let go. Under the stars, we'll go so far. This is who we are. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Chasing taillights. We're chasing taillights. Feel the rush, see the goal. Every second, take control.